Ronnie, this is your dad. Missed your call. So give me a call. I'll try to answer.
There. I just have a few things about my dad. You know, me and my dad were really close. We did a lot together. I was his only son, so we kind of bonded really well. But if you didn't know my dad was kind of a nerd. I don't know if you guys knew that or not, but he was definitely a big nerd. When all his friends were collecting baseball cards, he was collecting space cards. When all his friends were playing baseball, he would be working either on his chemistry set or his transistor radio. He even met his best friend Jim Brazel through a walkie-talkie. So he was kind of a nerd. One thing he really liked to do was he enjoyed working. He liked to work, whether it was at Viscase or St. James Hospital or at home. Once he would get done from like a 16-hour shift, he'd come home and work on other things. He literally could fix anything. I had any issue, whether it's my car, anything. He could fix anything. He was just amazing about that. He did so much. He custom built our camper when we had a camper. He basically rebuilt 2 houses. He was really into ponds, so anywhere we lived, he made a pond. Multiple cars. He made me a tree house, and he made sure we always dominated in the Pinewood Derby races. He had that car down to a science, and we would always, it may not be the best looking, but we would always win. And we'd have crosses on there and everything, so we had gotten our side, I guess, from that. He was also an inventor. He was really good. He didn't invent anything with, that was worth a lot of money, but he would always just think outside the box. Very practical. If you see over there, he made an underwater camera, which is probably a little outdated now, but back in the day, that was the thing. He was also really good at our school projects. Jenna and I had some of the most advanced science projects. They thought maybe we were a genius at school, but that wasn't the case. My dad was very frugal. I don't know if you guys knew that, but he was very frugal. Number one, he drove a used Dodge Omni. If any of you guys know what an Omni is, it's like an egg car, really cheap. Then when that Omni died, he saved all the parts, and he used it to rebuild his new Omni, which he just bought. So he just loved to work and loved to be really frugal, and he never overspent on himself at all. It was always, his main focus was to be a provider of our family. So we really appreciate that as a family. I went to Cornerstone University for 5 years. I didn't fail or anything. I took my time. But he paid for a lot of my schooling, and if you know anything about Cornerstone, it's not the cheapest college. So I really appreciate him doing that. One other example of him being frugal, one time he came to one of my volleyball matches, and I saw what shirt he was wearing. It was a shirt from 9th grade, when I wore in 9th grade. So I don't know if my mom just switched it out, but it surprisingly fit him, and he just didn't care really what he looked like. My dad was also very into the Bible. He was into Bible prophecy. He loved to talk about Israel, what's happening in Israel. He enjoyed telling others about Christ. If you're a Jehovah's Witness and you came to our door, watch out, because he's going to lay down the law. He loved debating, talking about God. As you'll read in the book, he had a lot of supernatural occurrences that, some may say that's just a coincidence or that can't happen, but he had everything from angels to demons to God God talking to him, and he isn't crazy. Denny checked him out, so he doesn't have a mental illness or anything. But his life basically showed that there is a spiritual world out there, and it's been blinded by many of us, from Satan, and he was just a good example about that. Again, I encourage you to take his paper, read it, look through it. Pastor just talked about his online debating. Again, he's kind of a nerd, so he'd do that. But he reached a lot of people out there. All over the world. It'd be different continents, Africa, Europe. And he would literally be the only person that's a Christian. All the other Christians would go to the Christian post where everyone's a Christian. But he would go out of there, be surrounded by 20, 30 atheists, just all ripping him apart. And he still stayed positive. He kept his cool, and would just say, these are the facts. This is what's in the Bible. This is what the Bible's about. And there'd be times when I would call him either at college or whatever, and it'd be 2 a.m. or 3 a.m., which my mom probably didn't know about. But he worked the night shift, so we would just be discussing that early in the morning. He'd just be debating. And his last job that he had, it was a little bit more low-key. He had a little bit more time to do that. But actually, the figure that the pastor gave was a little bit lower because he did 7,500 posts, 7,000 posts just on the forum that he was on. He got kicked off the other one because he was too Christian. So he had about a good 3,000. He ended up with about 10,000, over 10,000 posts he actually wrote up. And he was viewed over probably 5 million times. And that was the last 8 years of his life that he did that. And looking back on it, I'm so glad that he did, because now I can go back and see all the discussions he's had. It's all there forever, as long as that website's there. So I encourage you to, if you ever get a chance, to kind of look at what he wrote. And some of the things that he wrote were kind of really off the wall. I didn't even always agree necessarily, but he was very passionate about it. A few other things, towards the end, he always made an effort of telling me that he loved my mom. And the closer he got to his death, the more that he would tell me that he loved her. He was just so thankful that she was there to take care of him. And can we just give my mom a round of applause for the last 2 years? She did an excellent job. If my dad had one thing to say right now, especially now that he's been there and is in heaven, he would put a strong emphasis on becoming a Christian and loving the Lord. And that doesn't mean just going to church and church membership, but it means to have a legit personal relationship with Jesus. And life is just way too short. See, my dad, he lived 61 years. Some people don't live, that long at all. So either way, we're all going to end up like this, whether it's 70 years, 7 years, 7 months, 7 seconds, let's hope not. But we're all going to end up like this. And life is just too short to constantly question, okay, well, is the Bible true? Look at what they're doing in the church. They're not Christ at all. If you're going to look at something, look at the Bible. Look what it says. I challenge you to ask God personally. It's a personal relationship, and you need to, through prayer and through the Bible, make sure that you ask God, because life is too short. It's too short to get a divorce. It's too short to, you know, hate your family, to get in arguments. Life is too short. And it may seem really long as, you know, we go on through these years, but it's short. So I encourage you to, if you haven't taken the time to find Jesus, forget about any other Christian that has done you wrong, but really know that you're going with the Lord. And if you are with Jesus right now, I just encourage you to check, okay, where are your priorities? What are you doing now? Are you spending time with God? You know, are you spending more time, you know, doing things that don't matter in the end? Just to close, I would like to finish with a story that's in my dad's book. Hopefully I don't butcher it, but all these stories that you have in that paper, he literally told us hundreds, maybe even thousands of times. So I probably could have written the paper. But one story was after his dad died, I think it was around 1995, I think I was about 10 years old. He was very sad, and he just didn't feel at peace with the whole passing. But a few months afterwards, he had a dream or a vision, whatever you want to call it, and he saw a glimpse of heaven, and he saw his dad. And, you know, whether you believe it or not, this is what he says. And he saw his dad, and he was so excited. And if you knew my grandpa, the last years of his life, he had dementia. He also had a broken leg, which once he broke his leg, he never came out. But here comes my dad's dad, my grandpa, running to him in heaven. And my dad was just so excited to see him. And my dad was like, "Gee, Dad, we could hang out the whole day together." And my grandpa replied, "I can't, son. I'm walking with Jesus now." And I just appreciate my dad's enthusiasm about his faith. And I don't worry at all of where he's at. And I'm very thankful that he has been such a good witness to me. And if you know me, I've basically become my dad, which could be good or bad. But off that, you know, if you're not walking with Jesus on earth, you're not probably going to walk with Jesus in heaven. So I really want you to hammer that home and find Christ. And even in this world, having Jesus is so much better. You always have someone to rely on. There's hope in this world. And eventually you'll see what love's all about when you meet him. Thank you.
I can only imagine what it will be like when I walk by your side. I can only imagine what my eyes will see when your face is before me. I can only imagine. Surrounded by your glory, what will my heart feel? Will I dance for you, Jesus? Or in awe of you be still? Will I stand in your presence? Or to my knees will I fall? Will I sing hallelujah? Will I be able to speak at all? I can only imagine. I can only imagine. I can only imagine when that day comes and I find myself standing in the sun. I can only imagine when all I would do is forever, forever worship you. I can only imagine, yeah. I can only imagine. Surrounded by your glory, what will my heart feel? Will I dance for you, Jesus? Or in awe of you be still? Will I stand in your presence? Or to my knees will I fall? Will I sing hallelujah? Will I be able to speak at all? I can only imagine. Yeah, I can only imagine. Surrounded by your glory, what will my heart feel? Will I dance for you, Jesus? Or in awe of you be still? Will I stand in your presence? Or to my knees will I fall? Will I sing hallelujah? Will I be able to speak at all? I can only imagine. Yeah, I can only imagine. I can only imagine. Yeah, I can only imagine. I can only imagine. I can only imagine. I can only imagine when all I would do is forever, forever worship you. I can only imagine.
Hey, Ronnie, this is your dad. Missed your call. So give me a call. I'll try to answer.